Guys, we're back. Today is my birthday. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. 4 years old. How did this happen? I'm okay. I swear. I'm okay. All right. So, told you guys in the last video about how Satan Claus was just feeling generous. Just gonna give my mom like $500 of electronics. She just felt like giving it away. Of course I was suspicious, but I wrote it off as like, this girl's such a shit talker and she's always making things up and whatever. I'm not even gonna pay attention to it. I'm not thinking that, anything is gonna come of this, but I was like suspicious and it was going through my head, I'm like, why would this girl all of a sudden just want to give my mom, all this like free shit for no reason? People don't do that, especially people like her. And then I'm trying to think in my head, like, what brought that conversation up? What made this girl think to even tell my mom? It just sounded crazy to me, but I kind of wrote it off and I was like, yeah, whatever. Oh, let me rewind for a second. Hold on. Somebody brought this up in a comment and then they reminded me that I totally forgot to mention this to you guys. When I caught my brother in my mom's safe that last time on Halloween, when my mom confronted him and said something and he lied to her, my mom actually, and it's not that I don't think that she, didn't believe me. I just think it was so hard for my mom to believe that my brother was doing all this shady shit, just in general. I was up at the hospital that week and my mom's like, oh, Leanna, by the way, Steven really was in my safe. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, he said to my mom something about her will. And my mom goes, well, I'm changing that. And he goes, well, who are you going to use? And he names the lawyer that wrote my mom's will. My mom said to me that was like confirmation for her. She was like, there's no way he could have known that without going in my safe and actually seeing my will. Like, there's no way he would have known what lawyer I used to write my will up. My mom was like, there's just no way. He wouldn't have known that. He just wouldn't have known that unless, he went in my safe and saw who wrote her will. But anyway, this comment that somebody left, they were like, oh, I would have just taken the whole safe. My mom, that day after we caught my brother in the safe again and he lied to her, my mom was just like, do me a favor, just take everything out and just bring it to your house. So I didn't take everything out of her safe at that point. I just took out her will, my dad's will, and all the paperwork having to do with her will. So I did end up taking everything out. I told my mom, it was in the trunk of my car, and then I brought it into my house. At that point in time, I thought they stole a copy of my mom's will. And that was another thing I forgot to mention. So it's now Saturday morning, the 5th. And I wake up in the morning. It's about, 10:30-ish, whatever time it was. And I look at my phone. I have a text from my mom's neighbor, Kara, who was caring for the dogs. And she's like, there's a gray Mercedes in your mom's driveway, and they have a friend with them. What is going on at this point in time? I had just rolled out of bed. In my pajamas, I threw a sweatshirt on. I threw a hat on and I just ran out of the house and started driving straight to my mom's. I'm driving to the house. My mind's like racing a million miles a minute. My adrenaline is pumping. I'm freaking out. There's going to be a fight. This is not going to go good. I have to do this. I have to catch them in the act. I have to confront these people about this already because I had enough. I get to the house and they're gone, of course. It was probably better off that they weren't there. I walk in. I'm on the phone with my husband, right? I'm walking around my mom's house and I go down her hallway. Nobody touched the safe. I opened her bedroom door. I looked around. I was poking around the house to see if anything was missing, right? And I don't see anything. What are these people doing here? Like, I just didn't understand what the hell they kept doing at my mom's house. And I think I mentioned this in the last video. They never came to my mom's house. This was so bizarre that they were at my mom's house this much, because when she was alive and she was home and she was well, they never came over. Maybe in the last couple of months when she was home, they would visit more often. They came to her house more in the last few weeks of her life than they did in the last few years of her life combined. Probably double the amount. So I'm walking around the house. My husband's like, check this. We're talking. I'm like, I don't know what they're doing here, Chris. I really don't. My mom used to have this thing in the back door. It was like a bar so that if you could break the lock open on the door, you still wouldn't be able to slide the back door open. And let me just set up my mom's house for you, okay? When you walk in the front door, and I'll see if I can find like some kind of video footage or something. This is some footage I found of my mom's house. This was actually when I was cleaning it out when, after she passed away. So if you walked in, the kitchen was straight ahead and the living room was to the left. And you see I had a piano over there. That was, my parents bought that for me. So when you leave the living room, you could either walk straight into the kitchen, and that was my mom's kitchen, or I'm kind of going the other way, but I went around. Or you could go down the hallway. And so, right at the end of the hallway here, this was my old bedroom. It was, yeah, it was a little crazy. I looked terrible in this. I was so stressed out. I was sweating hot because it was just a bad day. I was cleaning all the stuff out of my mom's house. So that's a mural that I painted in my old bedroom back when I was like in college, and I don't know. But anyway, my bedroom is situated at the end of the hallway. And on that wall that's now behind me, that is where my mom's safe was, right next to that dresser and right next to that green window. And so I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of the layout of the house. So if you go down the hallway, my mom's piano sits directly across from my bedroom pretty much. And so that day I was going into the kitchen, as you'll see in a minute, and I was going to check to see if they locked the back door. So I'm going to turn into her kitchen from the hallway. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this like light, and I turn my head and I'm like, what is that? You know? So I start walking over to it and I'm like, what the hell is that thing? And I see this like black round circle thing, and I know immediately it's out of place. I mean, this is my house. My mom kept the house pretty much the same since I was a kid. Something's there that's not supposed to be there. I know right away. I'm like, what the hell is that? And all of a sudden I look and I'm like, holy shit. Holy dude, I blacked out. Everything that had occurred in the last couple of weeks caught up with me. There was a camera sitting there. I walked over to that thing and I fucking yanked that shit right out of the wall. I walked right to the front door. I opened the front door, screaming my head off. I don't even remember what I was saying. I could probably guess there was a lot of F-bombs going off. I took this camera, and I just, as hard as I could, I just threw it, smashed it right into the ground. I threw it so hard into my mom's brick walkway, it bounced off the walkway and almost went into the street, which was a pretty far stretch. I was livid. Meanwhile, Kara's husband was outside across the street, and he was probably like, what the hell is this girl doing? I was freaking out, dude. I yanked it so hard that I thought I ripped the wire out. So I go pick it up and I'm like, Nest makes a pretty durable product. Like, I thought I would have smashed this thing into smithereens. No, it was literally still fine. The only thing, and I'm going to show you guys a picture, there was a couple of scratches on the back. It came out of like the part that held it, but it was still in good condition. If I'm ever in the market for a security camera, I'm going to go with Nest. I was so angry. I go back inside and I go to get the rest of the plugs. It's kind of like the iPhone, how it had like the USB that plugs into like a little plug part, and then you put that in the wall. And I want you guys to see this. This plug, which was still sitting in the outlet, was filthy dirty. And I'm like, oh, I thought she won this in a contest. The way she presented it to my mom was like, oh, I just won this. I won it in a contest. Like, it just happened, and here, I'm going to give it to you because I just happen to not need this thing. Dude, I was like so pissed off. Again, you know, my impulsivity, this is something I've been working on in the last couple of years, especially when it comes to anger. I took a picture of it and I sent it to my mom, and I'm like, you know, this is what they were doing at your house today. Mind you guys, I go walk down my mom's hallway to look at our thermostat because I'm like, well, did they at least install the Nest thermostat? That thing was nowhere to be found. They didn't even bring it to her house, but they presented it to her like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you this thermostat, and like the camera was like a consolation prize. It was like, here, you know, this just happens to come along with it. But it was really the other way around. It was like, here, we're giving you a camera under the guise of a Nest thing. They're such assholes. I hate them. So I like freaked out. I took the camera, I took the cord, I threw it in my car, and I left. You know, and yeah, I let my anger get the best of me that day. First of all, they lied to my mom. They presented it to my mom like they're giving her something for her benefit. You straight up lied. I don't even care if they didn't know she was dying at this point in time. You went into her hospital room, and knowing the condition she was in, you sat there and manipulated her while she was laying in a hospital bed on heavy amount of drugs, unable to move, in one of the most vulnerable positions that a human being could ever fucking be in. Who the fuck are you? Seriously. My brother lost his moral compass. I don't even know who this person is anymore. Not for nothing. I took care of my mom for the last couple of years While my brother was off doing whatever he wanted to do, going to Mexico, treating her like shit, he didn't even have a key to her front door for a good year because he never came around. He didn't give a shit about her. You think that I'm gonna walk in a house where you're fucking watching me on a camera? No. I feel that this camera was put there for several different reasons. I feel like it was put there, number one, to drive a wedge in between me and my mom. I had told my mom that they were in the safe, and they knew it. I think my mom had confronted them or said something to them about it at this point in time. They were pissed and they wanted to retaliate. I personally feel that they tried to like turn it around on me and make it look like, oh, I'm being sneaky. God only knows. I think that was put there to control me, to control my husband, who was also helping care for my mom's house. And here's what really pissed me off about it. What about Kara? This woman was trusted in my mom's home for years. My mom let this woman in her home. She had a key to the front door. She took care of my mom's dogs for her and had free reign of the house, you know? Could you imagine if I didn't communicate with Kara in the way that I did? You know, this lady's going about her business, taking care of my mom's dogs, and all of a sudden she walks in and sees a camera pointed at her one day. They didn't tell my mom they were going there that day to do that. They told my mom that they went to her house that day to go cover her air conditioners. All of a sudden, they give a shit about her heat and her air conditioners. Give me a break. You know, I was pissed off, and I expressed that to my mom. I had to say something to my mom. As much as I decided that I really didn't want to do this, they forced me to have these conversations with my mom. I was just like, why are cameras being put in the house? Why can't anybody tell me why a camera's in the house? And again, my brother had a choice in this. He could have called me up and said, hey, you know, Leanna, we're giving mom a camera for whatever reason. No, that never happened. There was never any conversation. So I was supposed to just walk in the house the way I did, whether it was going to be that day or another day, and just see this camera, or maybe not even see it, because it was kind of hidden in plain sight. Where they put it, it was directed right at my room, right where my mom's safe was. I was like, this is unbelievable. Every fucking day, shit just got worse and worse, and they just kept pulling more and more shit, and I was just like I just couldn't believe that this was happening. So it ends up, they were at the hospital when I called my mom up and told her. I'm like, oh, I found their little fucking camera. Where's the thermostat that they were, you know, gonna give you? Where is it? It's not even here. It wasn't even there because I ended up finding the box for the camera, and there was no box for the Nest. I walked over and checked the thermostat, and I'm like, oh, look at that. They didn't even do the thermostat because it wasn't about the thermostat. That was just the way they sold the camera to my mom. That's like some serious, cunning, calculating, narcissistic, psychopath manipulation at its finest. So, all right, that was Saturday. That was that Saturday. You know, that night I went up to the hospital, and my mom told me that she had a talk with my brother and Satan. My mom said, listen, this is getting crazy. Satan, you need to take a step back, and you're overstepping your boundaries, and you need to, you know, take a step back and let my kids handle this. And she agreed. Oh, I'll take a step back. No problem, Carol. I'm going to be compliant with whatever you say because I want your money. And my brother, because he's manipulative too, he goes, I'm not going to go to your house anymore. Here, take the key back. Later that night, it's like 10:30 at night, and all of a sudden, I get a text from my brother. Now, I'm going to show you guys this text, okay? He goes, why did you take the camera that I gave to mom? I didn't even answer it. Because in my head, I was like, you said you gave it to her, so it's not yours anymore, so why are you worried about it? If it's not your camera anymore, and you guys legitimately were giving it to my mom so that she could, you know, I don't know, stare at my old bedroom door, what do you care where it is? And I'm like, I'm not answering it. It's just gonna end up in a fight. This motherfucker, while I was sitting up at the hospital, he went to my mom's house on a Saturday night at like 10:30 at night. This is what was important to him while my mom was in the hospital dying. And this is what this asshole, who didn't talk to her for 3 years prior to this, thought was important at this time. He thought it was important to go drive over to her house, once again, lie about the reason that he was going there. My mom had we had a fireplace, so she had one of these hoops that, you could stack the logs in. And at 10:30 on a Saturday night, while my mom's in the hospital, my brother's like, I need somewhere to store my firewood. I just need it now at 10:30 at night. That's what I need. So he drove over to her house. But really, we all know the real reason that he was driving over her house was to go check up and see why his camera wasn't recording. And now that I think about this, my mom told me that he gave her the key back. So I'm like, how did he get in the house? They must have made a copy of the key. Sunday went by. They didn't come back to the hospital. Monday night comes, okay? And I'm up at the hospital. All of a sudden, I hear the heels of doom. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And here comes walking in my Uncle Bob, my Aunt Debbie, my Aunt Betty, my cousin, my Aunt Debbie's daughter, and my grandmother, and my brother. All at the same time. And I'm like, that's weird. Did my brother come with them? Like, why are these people all together? They all came in the hospital at the same exact time. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know if I explained this in another video or not, but I made a conscious decision at that point in time, since I was not cool with any of these assholes. I think it's better if I leave the room when they come. First of all, I deserve a break from being in the hospital because I spent a lot of time there. Second of all, it's crowded in the room. This hospital room was so small and so cramped. Third of all, I felt like my mom, listen, she was sick. She wasn't stupid. Even though I didn't tell her, I think she knew what was going on. I felt like my mom would be able to feel the tension had I sat in the room and stayed there. On top of that, I didn't want them all being like, oh, Liana won't give us time to spend alone with Carol. She's breathing down our neck. She thinks she owns Carol. I think it's just best for everybody if I leave the room. I knew my mom was going to get upset because my grandmother was there that night. Listen, I just wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there in the room with them. My brother passes me in the hallway. And just keep that in mind because it's going to make sense in a couple seconds. So I leave. I go to McDonald's to meet my husband and my son because this is the first time in the last 3 weeks. It was the first time I actually sat down and ate dinner with my family. I came back, this is so random, but when I left that night, there was like this creepy guy in a van who was like driving around the parking garage. I called the campus security. So when I came back from McDonald's, they asked me to meet up with them. I had a picture of the guy's van and they wanted me to show them the picture. I'm waiting around for the campus security. I talked to that guy and then my mom calls me and she was mad at me. She was like, why'd you leave? And I'm like, Mom, I just wanted to leave. I was hungry. I didn't eat dinner, And she was like, well, don't bother coming back up. I'm going to sleep. But I went anyway because I was like, I wasn't just going to leave her hanging. I wanted to help set her up for the next day, get her teeth cleaned and everything like that. So, of course, I went back up there and, she got over it. We were fine. Sitting up at the hospital. It's all quiet. The night is all settled. Everybody left. My husband calls me up and he's like, I'm going to fucking kill your brother. What now? He texts my husband, my brother, and he writes, I texted Liana, but she never answered. I want the camera back that she took from my mom's house. When can I come pick it up? Keep in mind, guys, I just saw him at the hospital. Just walked by him at the hospital. So my husband answered him back and said, I don't know where it is. Didn't you just see her at the hospital? Should have asked her. My brother responds to my husband, she left the room when I got there, and I'm not fighting with her in front of my mother. I asked for it the other day. She shouldn't have my stolen property. Oh, rewind the tape. Didn't he say he gave it to my mom? Now it's your stolen property? Since when does this happen? You give somebody a gift and then all of a sudden claim that it's your stolen property? Really? He wrote to my husband, just find out where it is and let me know when I could come get it. I don't want to talk to her about it. So I text my brother that night. Instead of being up at the hospital, he's sitting home worrying about a camera. I wrote to him, do me a favor. Don't get my husband involved in this ridiculous bullshit. Don't contact us anymore. We have enough stress worrying about mommy as we have been for the past few years. I have seriously had it with the lies and the sneaky bullshit. Whatever you're trying to do, you aren't hurting me. You are hurting mommy. Who are you? You are not the same person you used to be. If you wanted the camera that you gave to mommy as a gift, then you should have asked me like a man when you just saw me in the hospital. Really, get your priorities in order. Is this shit really that important right now? He writes back to me, don't worry, I won't be contacting you anymore. I said, well, you just did. And that's exactly why my brother didn't say anything, because he knew, oh, if I ask Liana's gonna try to make me take responsibility, and Liana's gonna say something like, hey, asshole, why are you planting cameras in our mother's house? So, he didn't want that, because they thought they can manipulate my husband, because most of the time, my husband was very rational. Just to keep peace, he would be like, Liana, just, do this. I respect my husband for that. At this point in time, my husband was just fed up with them, just as fed up as I was. But he was like, just get the camera. I don't want any problems, because my husband saw the words stolen property. This started these threats against us. My husband was like, I know she's using that word, because that was probably Satan who wrote that. And he's like, she's using the word stolen property, which means if you don't give them that camera back, they're going to call the cops on you. So he's like, just go get the camera. So now, again, when it's all peaceful and quiet in my mom's room, I'm like, Steven wants his camera back. So I went downstairs, I put the camera in a bag, and I took a picture of it. And I'm going to show you guys this picture. I knew that there was a little damage to it, okay? I'm not going to lie. But I knew that they were going to exaggerate the damage. So I was like, let me take a picture of it so that I have record, because now at this point, I've learned my lesson with them. You need to keep solid records. I took a picture of it on the trunk of my car, brought it up in a little plastic bag, and I just said to my mom, Mom, he wants his camera back. Tell him it's in this closet. There was a little wardrobe closet in the corner of my mom's room. And so I took the bag and I hung it in that closet, and that was it for the night. I'm going to end this one here, and we'll come back in the next one.